Welcome. Welcome to Good News from St. Andrew's, Guelph. I'm the Reverend John Borthwick, and I'm so grateful to share this time with you each and every week here on Rogers TV 20. I've just completed our Bible study for this morning. Every Thursday morning around 10 o'clock, a group of us get together and talk about this Bible, the Bible that we read and try to understand a little bit more. That includes both the Hebrew Scriptures and what we call the New Testament. It's an engaging conversation. I've been doing this for years with folks. And one of the real themes that comes out often is creating a space, I hope a safe space, where we can ask some of the questions that are burning in our hearts, some of the questions that we just don't know the answer to, or sometimes we're afraid to even ask them because we think that if we do ask them, someone might think, well, you asked that question, do you not believe this? Do you not understand this? Maybe make us look foolish. I try to create that kind of safe space, but I believe also that that safe space happens as a part of the community that shares this time together, both on Zoom now and in the past in a little room that we used to gather in. Asking questions and wondering is a part of what I believe following Jesus is all about. Joining and participating in a faith community is all about. I think that really it's often a question of having absolute certitude, knowing something absolutely completely without question, but also having extreme doubts, having an absence of knowing if anything you believe is real and true. I think that's what we live in as human beings. And somewhere along the line within the Christian tradition, and maybe even in many other faith traditions, it came to be perceived as, well, those are the people with all the answers. Those are the people that live without any kind of doubt. They have no questions. Not to say you won't find some of those kinds of folks who hang out in faith traditions. Absolutely true. But I like to try and think of it as, if we can hold these two things lightly, that we can accept that there are days when we're going to have absolute confidence that believing in this can change my life today. And the other days when we're just like, I've got nothing. There's nothing left in the tank. I don't know if I believe any of this. And just hold that space between those two. I think that's what starting a journey of trying to follow Jesus is all about. So this week is an interesting week. It's the Interfaith Harmony Week, as promoted by the United Nations. Interfaith harmony, that's a question for our globe that's maybe spanned the thousands and thousands of years we've been around as human beings. So much violence, so much hatred, so much bloodshed spilt over, you believe this God and I believe this God. You follow this tradition and I follow that tradition. Even within religious communities themselves, within the Christian tradition and various other religious traditions, there's been fights, there's been violence, there's been bloodshed, all in the name of God, a divine being, all in the name of my tradition, my faith, the denomination I'm a part of. So interfaith harmony is certainly something that we need to consider to move on each and every day as we participate if we're a part of a faith tradition. Not only for the sake of our own selves, seeing each other better, becoming better neighbors, you might say, but also for the example it sets in our world, in our globe. What does it tell people about our religious faith, the traditions that we try to follow, the tenets, the beliefs, the core essences of each of our faith traditions? What does it tell the world when we say that we're willing to kill someone, another human being, in my tradition, a beloved child of God, because they believe in something different than me? I hope that we can continue to pursue these conversations around interfaith or multi-faith dialogue, and I hope that we can find places and spaces to find harmony between our communities on a regular basis. But this kind of question stirs up a lot within my own tradition, within Christianity, because I think what we've created over the years, the centuries, the millennia, and certainly by even the questions that I was asking in the early parts of this week about who is God and who is this Jesus and what's so amazing about this Jesus and why would I follow him, is that Christians over decades and millennia and centuries have essentially put out there that this Jesus is the only way, the only tradition worth following. Some would say, well, it's in your Bible, it's in the scriptures. Jesus himself says he is the way. And for a lot of Christians, we've taken that to mean that he is the only way. Christians were told as a part of, again, their Bible, their Gospels, the stories that are told of Jesus, one of them ends with what we now call the Great Commission. It says, by Jesus, go out into the world and make disciples of all nations in my name. And for millennia, Christians have followed that call to go out into the world and colonize, as it were, convert, tell people and convince people and to make people into disciples. That's been a big part of what the Christian tradition has done. And while some might argue that there are many benefits to that work and that effort, I'll affirm that there may be many benefits to some of that. We also know the tragic, traumatic, and devastating legacy of doing just that. And we need to own that as a Christian tradition. Some have asked the question, what if Christians took as their mission statement, their direction, their ultimate goal, the Great Commandment instead of the Great Commission? And the Great Commandment is essentially when Jesus says, love God completely and love your neighbor as yourself. That might have created a little more harmony in our world. That might have led to less desire to eliminate, destroy, colonize others, and led to more appreciation, toleration, acceptance, and maybe even celebration and understanding of other traditions and other peoples. I don't know how that would have made a difference, but I do have a sense that it might have made a significant difference in the way that Christians approached the world that God has created. And so how do we strive for this interfaith harmony? How do we engage in these conversations? And how do we hold Jesus with the value and the love and the passion which we have to follow him, and at the same time allow ourselves to appreciate and accept and seek to understand another tradition that doesn't hold Jesus as important as we do? I often wonder if part of this way of being human is that we're afraid. And I think our fear comes from this idea around scarcity and abundance that's talked about often in the Bible. This scarcity piece is the idea that if I allow for another way, another path, another kind of thing to commit one's life to, and if I acknowledge that as good and valuable and important, and I celebrate it, and I seek to understand it better, then somehow that might diminish the tradition that I've followed and committed my life to. And I'm not exactly sure that that is true. I can hold Jesus as the person that I want to follow, the being that I want to devote my life to, that I'll seek to understand fully in my lifetime. But I can also celebrate and seek to understand a different tradition and learn from and grow as a human being living in this world from other beloved children of God who have devoted their lives to a different path of this journey of life. I think we have something to learn from each other. And I think in our understanding and our seeking of harmony, we can actually change this world for the better. So how do we move from tolerance to acceptance to seeking understanding? Maybe that's the biggest question for each of us to have. And wouldn't it be good news if we could say that there was harmony between the varieties of religious expressions, the varieties of spiritualities that exist? Wouldn't it be beautiful if even Christians were willing to be in harmonious relationships with each other? Now that would be good news. So today, we are excited to bring you our service from February the 7th. It's an interview, what we call a ZOOMerview here at St. Andrews, with Mubeen Butt. He is from the Muslim Society of Guelph, an imam there, and we're going to have a conversation about this very thing. We're going to seek to understand, seek to learn a little more about our brothers and sisters within the Muslim faith, and have a bit of a dialogue here and there as we engage in this conversation and seek to understand each other a little better. I hope you enjoy our service today.